I am. Good evening. Hello, this is Gifty from Baller Mom, and hope everybody's having a pretty good December so far. The 7th of December 2021. Happily and sadly, our year is coming to an end. So if you've been able to make it this far, you are blessed, you are alive. Hopefully, you're healthy and everybody is staying safe. Christmas is coming. There's a lot of holidays coming in this year. A lot of celebrations that's going to be happening. Family get together because there's a lot of restrictions lifted here in Toronto. And I wanted to do another feature that talks about our finances because everything we do surrounds money. Registering the kids, running around, doing everything we have to do comes with money. And in doing that, especially being in the sports world, it's not as easy for some people, even though it may be easy for some. So I'm going to have a special guest here that is going to share a little bit of information of what she does to help families build great wealth so that our kids can continue to play, and how she can help you if you're looking for anything related to getting your finances or secure a home or anything like that. So allow me to invite Portia, who would then she will introduce herself as to who everybody is. As to who she is to everybody. So Portia, if you see my invite, accept it. There you go.
Hi, everyone.
Hello, hello, hello. Good evening. How
Hello.
are you?
I'm good. Hi, Gifty. How are you? It's been a
Ah,
while.
I'm breathing. I'm breathing. Oh God. Truth be
Mhm.
told, I almost had to do this from my car
Yeah,
because
you
my
told
little
me. I
one,
was like, I
yeah.
hope she doesn't have to. But you know
No, you
what?
know
That's the
what?
thing about mothers, right? That's the thing
Yeah.
about being a mother. We have to adapt. It's about
We
adapting.
pivot. We
You have to
pivot.
pivot.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
listen, as much as the kids are pivoting on the court, we got to
Yeah.
pivot in our lives every single day,
Exactly.
right? So we've learned,
Exactly.
I think
Exactly.
we pivot better than them, don't you think?
Oh my goodness. I swear, like the tabs that I have open and trying to get it, and I was freaking out because I'm like, oh my goodness, it's practice at 7. Okay, but my husband's not home yet. I'm like, okay, where are you? Where is this? Okay, we're gonna have to do it from a car. I literally picked up
Hmm.
my laptop. I'm like, okay, we're gonna have to just go with the flow because the topic that we're gonna talk about is so important. Money. Everything surrounds
Yes.
money. Basketball is a business. Regardless of what everybody says, it comes down to
Hmm.
money, whether you're
Yes,
being
it does.
paid or you're paying, whether you get your money's worth or you
Hmm.
don't. It's all about money, but where does that money come from? It comes
Yeah.
from the parents, right? It's us.
Hmm.
Unless, the kids are older and they have a job and they're
Yes.
able to support themselves through their
Hmm.
own practices and games, but the money comes from us. So how do we go about making sure that we're making the right decision in supporting them and make sure that by the time they're done, they're not also broke and they're able to understand how
Yes.
finances work.
Yes.
So without giving too much information as to who you are, I'll give you this
Hmm.
platform to introduce yourself. Who is
Okay.
Portia? What do you
Okay.
do? Where you're located? And how can we help? Oh, how can you help us?
Yes. So my name is Portia, and I am a mortgage agent and a credit repair coach, and I am an advocate for the next generation. So everything that I do is based on how can we, as the adults, pivot? How can we create an environment where we can hand off an
Mm-hmm.
environment and a world where we can be proud of, right? Because
Yep.
it's all inspired from where, when we look at the generation before us, and a lot of times, I grew up. I'm from Ghana, but I grew up around a lot of West Indian people, and a lot of things I used to hear was these young people, these young people, these young people, these young people.
They still
So I'm like,
say.
yes, these young people. But then one day I sat back and I was like, that's what we are going to say if we don't do something about it,
Mm-hmm.
right? We're
Mm-hmm.
going to say these young people, but then we have a power to change it for the young people, right?
Yes.
So if we change it, then we do not become the result of the previous generation, right?
Yep.
Because the things that we are doing, the mistakes that we've made, are all because of the next generation and how they handled and the things that they taught us. So that's
Yep.
who I am. Mortgage agent, credit repair coach. I have a nonprofit called Grace Found Me, where we are about building and nurturing the next generation so that they can dream big.
I love that. Wow.
Hmm.
Multiple tabs. And you are a baller mom, correct?
Yes, I am. Yes, I
Yes.
am.
Yes.
Yes.
And how has the whole pandemic been for you, trying to raise a student who also likes to play sports? And during that time where it was sort of shut down for a bit, did you have to go through reassessment to say, is this really for you, or what can we do to keep you going? Like, how did that
Yeah.
affect you, your student athlete,
Yeah.
or your family dynamic?
Yeah. So like, COVID affected everybody. And with everything that I'm doing, I'm also a mother of 6 children. I have
Wow.
6 young children between the ages of 2 and 13. Okay.
Wow.
So, my oldest plays basketball. So just, committing to doing the things like, taking him to the practices, pivoting and saying, what type of environment, what type of, practices and training will benefit you. And I
Hmm.
also was able to benefit from a lot of the free programs that was going on. And through that, we were connected to a lot of different organizations that my son is able to reap from right now. And even when
Hmm.
it comes to his school, he thrived. I find he's been thriving due to
Good.
COVID, right?
Good.
A lot of kids were like, their grades dwindled, but with him, I find he started getting straight A's during COVID.
Wow.
Right?
That's good.
Yes, he started getting, he didn't like it, but I think that also helped because it's about adapting, right?
Yes.
He was
Yes.
able to adapt. As much as they complained, they still did the work. And I think that also gave him the opportunity to even have a different level of commitment to the work that they're doing.
I love that. I love
Mm-hmm.
that. Wow. So yeah, you're right. COVID did affect everybody differently.
Mm-hmm.
For people working from home, people having to physically go to work, to having to figure out how do I even get them to still be interested in school, because
Mm-hmm.
once they turn off the screen, you couldn't go outside, so there wasn't any
Yeah.
physical sports to go and do or
Mm-hmm.
anything like that. And I know because we're talking about money, a lot of people were talking, well, some people lost jobs and had to
Mm-hmm.
stay home, and some end up having to work more based on the
Yeah.
fields they're in, and
Mm-hmm.
some saved because there was no games or practices or tryouts or anything like that, or teams to join. So on that aspect, there
Mm-hmm.
was a little bit of finance that moved around for a bit. Now,
Yeah.
now that things are lifted, because
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people lost a lot of years in there, especially the older kids
Mm-hmm.
who were like, could have been
Yeah.
graduating, didn't get the chance to do everything they had to do.
Mm-hmm.
And we're saving time, but the money aspect of it comes in. So now that things are lifted, from what I've
I don't
seen,
know what's wrong with my nose, but my
it's
nose is just
okay.
bugging me. Sorry.
Everything has been doubled. And everywhere
Yeah.
you go, you
I
have
know.
the
Have you noticed
sign.
that? Have you
Yes.
noticed these COVID prices?
Yes, I was just going to say, so there's this default now, which is about a 10 font size Arial on every store, whether it's online or in person, that has COVID price associated with it. So
Yeah.
for a family who thought I had saved a little bit, because
Mhm.
now that we're open, I want my kid to get back into sports, because
Mhm.
let's say during grade 11, they're about to get into their senior year. Maybe they're
Mhm.
entering grade 9 and they're thinking about what's next, and the money is tight.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that we can think of or try to figure out and say, okay, where do I put my money in?
Mhm.
How to decide it, because you don't want to pay the 1,500 for one team if you can do 500 for 2 days or so.
Yeah.
And that decision is hard because every
Mhm.
family dynamic is different. So from a
Sure.
financial perspective, what are some of the things that you could say to a parent who's, in that level? Like, do I send them to a
Mhm.
private school, or do I go to a regular school and
Yeah.
still be in a team? Either way,
Mhm.
money has to come out.
Yeah.
And you don't want to take the kids' dreams or being healthy away. So
Mhm.
what's tips that you can tell us
Yeah.
to be thinking of, to
Mhm.
so that we don't end up putting all our money into that part of the
Yeah.
basket?
I believe that when it comes to COVID, one thing that during COVID, my nonprofit, one thing that we started was I used to do Bible study with the kids. And
Okay.
the reason why I used to do Bible study with the kids is because I felt that during COVID, we, the adults, lost focus on the kids. You know, we were not really thinking about how resilient these kids, the things that these kids were going through. These kids have to deal with adult decisions. These kids have to deal with so many things, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that really affected them in a
Yeah.
ways that was unimaginable to us, right?
Yeah.
So in making the decision whether to do a year team of 1,500 or 500, you also have to be mindful. Is it okay is my child going to struggle being taken out of his normalcy? Because
True.
he's built friendships, he's built things, right? So you have to think about that, because when we are making decisions, we tend to allow money to make decisions for us.
True.
Right? Because one thing that I teach, you know, when it comes to me credit coaching, I tell people credit is a tool and money is a tool.
True.
Till we all understand that money is a tool that we use, we will continue to allow money to use us. And that's why a lot of us are living in lack, because we're allowing money to use us. Money is a tool, it's a vessel that allows us to, you know, do the things that we're doing, but money's not everything.
It's not
Right?
everything.
So,
Yep.
yes.
Yep.
So when
And
it
as
comes to
one other person said, you know, like one of her biggest thing for her family was, you know, the whole vaccination and getting the kids to play sports and travel, which is, you know, it's a decision that is
yeah.
not easy, whichever way that you go through. So I really hope that you were able to
Yeah.
make a decision that helped your
Yeah.
child to get that experience and exposure to continue, because like you said, COVID did affect all of us, and we all scale it differently.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. So when it comes to that COVID discussion, and I feel like that topic has also even separated us when we're
Yes.
supposed to be coming together, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm also a podcaster. I'm a woman of God. I'm a preacher. I'm a minister. I do a lot of things. And I always say, you know, the enemy is after unity. So anything that he can do to create this unity in families, this unity in this world, is why we are where we are, right? So when things in adversity, we're supposed to draw together. We're supposed to come
Yeah.
together. But a lot of us separate when there's adversity, right? And we are, you know, sometimes I always say, you know, we make the enemy, you know, lay on the floor laughing at us, because he's like, you know, we are feeding to what it is that he's doing. So with everything, don't allow, right? Yes, it has become political, but remember,
Yes.
regardless of political, you are the carrier, you are the person that binds your family together.
Yeah.
So when we're talking about finances and COVID, at the end of the day, every decision is you.
Yep.
Politics don't make a decision for you. It's your
Yeah.
home, because outside of politics, you still have to mind your home. You still have to make
Pay the
decisions,
bills,
financial
you have to
decisions
feed them.
for your
Yep.
house, right? So
Yep.
one thing that I always do is, like, when it comes to this conversation, my son is 13. He can make decisions too. So I involve him in the decision.
Yes. That's a good point.
I involve him in
Yes.
the decision. If he chooses whether, and I tell him, you know what, research about it. And if that's what you want to do, we
Then
will
we
do
go
what
with
it is
it.
that you want to do, because he's 13. I can't force him and say, go get vaccinated because you want to play. You make that decision. I gave him that decision to make. If you
Yeah.
want to do this, you make the decision for yourself, right?
Yeah.
So that at least he's being empowered. Even when it comes to finances, right? We
Yeah.
have to involve our children and our family within our finances. There has to be an age when we add them, because, you know, a lot of us with our background, nobody ever involved us. A lot of us have bad money management habits.
Yes.
And if this is you, give me an emoji, because all of us can relate. We have bad money management habits.
Yes.
Because
so how do we break that? Because, you know, say I grew up, I didn't get to learn anything until I had my first credit, and I get bad credit, and now I recruit and I'm okay now. But now I have kids going into sports, and I'm trying to raise them to also not repeat that. But they love sports. And like I said, it's not cheap. It's not cheap at all. And it's not an easy decision to go from one team to the other, one school to the other, because ultimately you want the best for them, and you want them to be with the right team or coach or trainer that's going to get them to, you know, their potential that they're trying to get to. So when that decision is coming in, and you have, let's say, only 500, and you need to decide, you know, do I buy food? Do I buy gas? Like all these things that comes in, and the decision you said adding the kids in. What are some of the things that we need to be checking? Because I think you were
Yeah.
starting to say a little bit earlier too, but like to check and say, okay, at the end of the day, I have this here and I know you want this, but this is what we can afford to do
Yeah.
for the time being, especially with everything lifted and we're all dealing with COVID price, which is crazy.
Yeah. So you know what? That's the thing. Because when it comes to, because if, there's times where I have those hard conversations with my son, right? I'm like, you know what, Callan, like, we can't do that. And are you okay with it? We can't do this, but we can do that. He will be like, oh, like, why, right? However, but then he learns to understand certain things. He don't understand certain things he does, right? But we also have to make sure that we're empowering these kids, especially at 13. He should be empowered. I wish I was able to be involved in the finances, right? Because I'm from Ghana. I'm African. So there's things that were uncharted territories.
You don't ask.
You don't, like, it's none of your business. Get away from it. Like finances, you're too young. You're this, you want to know too much, right? So we don't get involved. But I think this is now, I always say that millennials have been exposed to so much that there's no reason why we can't raise empowered children.
Exactly.
Because
and as someone says, yes, definitely, COVID hasn't helped either. Prices are so much higher with team sports. And I agree, especially with spectator fees, which I still don't understand why I have to pay to watch my child play after I have paid for them to be in this team. Like, it doesn't make sense to me.
Yes. But this is the thing
about that at a later date, but that's another topic.
But this is the thing, because you know what? There's, like, yesterday I did a devotional room in Clubhouse, and the question was, we have to ask for what we want.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
If, let's say, the fees are high, because a lot of times we just take what it is, right?
Yeah.
So what if, because we keep on complaining about a lot of stuff when it comes to, oh, my credit is so bad, this is so bad, I'm never going to get a mortgage, and this world, the economy is this and that. But
so
remember,
when you say negatively, you become.
Yes, because you know what? We become what we put out, right?
Yeah.
Where your energy goes, where your focus goes, your energy flows, right?
Yes.
And that is universal. We all know that, right? So instead of you saying that, you can't afford, because a lot of times if we ask for things, if everybody comes together and say, you know what, what's your ask, right? Can you guys do a thing where instead of putting all the full fee at front, can we do staggered payments? Because right now, COVID, I understand that you guys also have a business to run, but how could we adjust this so that these kids, right? Because it all goes back to these kids. How can we adjust it?
Should be the key point. But sadly, it hasn't been for a while, which I've noticed.
It hasn't, because that's why I'm saying that it hasn't, because we are allowing money to use, as in money is not a tool. We are motivated by money. Money becomes our motivator, right? Because like with me, even when I work with my mortgage clients or whoever I work with, I take money out of the equation, because I believe if you add value, right? If you do what you're supposed to do, if you make that person feel empowered, money will come. Money comes. Money comes, because at the end of the day, all of us are stewards of the money, stewards of everything that we have, right? So the money will come when you do what's right. The money will come, because remember, if you really look at it, we always think greedy people are prospering, but really when you look at it, it's only a season that they prosper for. But the people who see value, the people who give value, the people who understands that I am a steward and I'm giving value to help these kids so that they can overcome whatever adversities they've gone through during COVID, that is when.
That's when they can do it. Okay, so that's a good point, because for me as a parent, COVID affects me. I can bear, let's say I can't afford this, but I still want them to play. And you're saying, one of the questions is to ask for staggered payments. Okay, depending on what your income is, depending on how often you get paid, depending on how much bills have come up, through COVID, even though some people had more money coming in through the government, some didn't, whatever your financial situation is. So I want to be able to go to my team or go to my coach or go to the manager and say, hey, I need to know where all the money going through, because you're saying empowerment. Are these some of the good things that we should be doing? Because at the end of the day, it is supposed to be about the kids being active. It is supposed to be about the kids being healthy, but it is also a business, right? And they don't want to run into it. So I know some parents are always in that little in between. Like, I want it, but I don't want to pay and everything like that. So taking myself out of that and say, okay, I still want them to, but I want to make sure that if it's going to be 1,500, how do I budget for that? Do you do any budgeting support to make sure that, you know, it's staggered, but maybe every quarter, every month that I have to pay this amount? And how do I come up with the extra money to be able to support? Is that something that you walk through with parents are coming to you, say, hey, Portia, this is my situation. I still want them in. I want to stagger. Walk me through. How do you go about doing that?
Okay, so I think a lot of times too, when it comes to not asking, because a lot of us have taken the status quo and just the word no, we hear no, or we hear you got to do, that's just our fee. You just got to pay it, right? And a lot of us are like, okay, so I'm just going to, there are programs out there that are willing to help parents. I think parents also need to look at, you know, because COVID also, even though COVID has done a lot to people, it has also created funding in different ways to keep the kids. But because we're not researching about these things, Jumpstart, if you're a parent who's in need, contact Jumpstart. Tell them what your situation is. See if they can help you. There's another program. There's so many resources out there. Yes, there's so many of them out there, but it's just that we don't know, right? So because we don't know.
So do you think we don't know because the teams and the leagues are not sharing it, because or they'll choose not to, or clearly because we're just not aware of it? I think that's something I'm gonna have to start doing, share a little bit more as to where else to go and get the support to still keep the kids in.
Because you know what, at the end of the day, they are running a business, right? Not every, so let's say with Jumpstart, maybe a lot of teams might not be on it. So that is when you call and say, this is the organization that my child plays for, right? Do you guys support this organization? And if it's not on there, maybe prompting the organization members to sign up with them, right? Because at the end of the day, if I'm a company, I'm going to sign up because that's the best way to get paid, because I know I'm going to get my money, because they're sending it to me. They're not sending it to the parents. They're sending it directly to me. So these are ways to cut back, right? Because I believe that COVID, a lot of us have, you know, in time of, you know, losing jobs and getting pay cuts and stuff like that, a lot of people have become dependent on their credit. And because they don't understand how credit works, it's affecting their credit. And then when we get to the mortgage stage, because they've dug a hole for themselves and now they have a job that is similar to what they had and the income is good, even when we're doing the mortgage process, there tends to be where there's an issue of now there's high utilization, or the credit has been damaged to a point where now we need to fix it, right? But I think we all have to remember that there's an opposite. If you can get into bad debt, you can get into good debt, right? If, you know, at the end of the day, there will come a time where the rainbow, we'll start seeing rainbow in the midst of this whole COVID thing. It is coming, but we have to also, because if we're all going to be in this negative funk, then we are actually extending it longer for us than it is. Because even some of us, when everybody, because COVID did not affect everybody. People are thriving.
Yes. Well, as someone says, here, like NPH charging for spectators, that's thriving. Like, to me, I would have preferred that my team has registered. This is the fee that we have paid, and that includes up to 2 people to join that one player. The fee's in it. Done.
I remember, because I
show up and
I used to complain about that. I used to complain about that with CBL, because CYBL, because like I used to complain about that all the time,
Yeah.
because you know what, I do understand. But sometimes too, even I've been learning, even sometimes when we are asking for so much discounts, that's what the thing. Like, I had to learn this with my mentor, my coach. She's like, if we ask for discounts and stuff when we have our businesses, people are going to ask for the same thing.
Same thing. Yes.
Because the things that we are asking for is what we're going to attract.
Yeah. So you have to be
right?
willing. It's a give and take
Yes.
process. So
Yes.
the question or the concern I have is for that family, you're scraping to get the kids to do what they want to do. I mean, maybe when they're younger in house league, it's less, it's in the hundreds, 200, 100, and that's okay. But as they progress and their skills are getting good, and you really want to do that one-on-one with them, but the money is not as easily coming because you can only split $20 so many ways. Right? You can only split $5 so many ways on a monthly or weekly basis and still trying to keep a roof over your head. And that leads me into Christmas is coming. And the theme right now is, even though they're off school, there is Christmas winter break trainings and camps, which I think is great for those who still want to get the experience. But when it comes to the financial aspect of it, what would be some of the cautionary things that you would tell some of the parents who are on the fence? Because it's like, I don't want them home bored, but I also don't want to pay this money for them to go do that.
Yeah.
Right.
But this is the thing too, because you know what? I think a lot of times when it comes to kids' sports, right? I find that a lot of times it's the parents' dream and not the children. If you really look at some parents, it's their dream and not their children. Because at the end of the day, your child, right? There's also free programs, because my son, he's not on a team, but he practices every single day, because there's free programs that we have. God bless that we've gotten somebody who, sees that potential in my son, that is willing to work with him and do what he needs to do. Even though he's not on a team, he's still working.
That's
right?
Good.
But a lot of times we
those
fail
are
to understand.
Rare and few. So that's really good that you have that.
Yes. So and then also a lot of times too, right? We have to also understand, if your child is not motivated on the things that he's supposed to do on his own, there's no point in what you're doing. You can spend all your money, but if your child is not motivated, you're wasting your money. And sometimes as parents, we gotta be real with ourselves, because as a 15-year-old, you're sending them to camps, but then they're not willing to get up and do a push-up. They're not willing to do the training that they need that will help build the strength and conditioning. Because a lot of teens don't do strength and conditioning most of the times, right? So are you going to do that, right? So we need to, as much as, I think when it comes to how I deal with my business and everything, it's all about, we hold the adults accountable. It's about holding you accountable so that you can learn to hold your children accountable. I got to hold myself accountable every single day.
Yes.
Right? Yes. I got to hold myself accountable every single day. But we need to also, a lot of times the children, some kids, when you see them at the games, it's like, they don't want it. It's the parent's dream.
Yeah.
So you as a parent also have to sit back and say, am I going to dig myself in a hole,
in debt,
right? And who
paying
am I
for
doing
something
it for?
that they don't want? Yeah.
And who am I doing it for? Am I doing it for me, or does my child really and truly, his heart is in it?
Yeah.
Right? We need to encourage our children, but we also as parents sometimes need to sit back and say, is this my dream?
Yeah.
Is this my child's dream?
And that's a good point, because each child is also different. Some kids may not look it, but they are motivated depending on the situation. Some are too extreme, and you have to kind of scale them back and say that's not the only thing. Yeah. So doing that check, I guess, is good. You did mention earlier about getting kids involved in finance. So I would say one of them is also getting them involved before you make that decision as to what team or which school to go to. And I'm sure a lot of parents have been doing that, but bringing it back to just my pocket saying, hey, I only have, like I said, $20. All these fees are coming up. I'm tired of COVID prices, but Christmas is coming.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to be active, but I also have to, you know, celebrate the holiday.
Yeah.
Whatever traditions that we have. There's some people don't buy gifts,
Mm-hmm.
some people don't. Whatever the
Yeah.
tradition is, it's a season ending, like a year
Mm-hmm.
ending, that you want them to be some memorable with them.
Mm-hmm.
So for those parents who are on that fence, you know, I'm not sure because I'm still
Yeah.
trying to save money. I don't want to start the new year in negative. I want to start positive, but I want my kids to still be happy on it. And they come to you and say, help me. What are some of the top 5
Yeah.
things that you can guide them in to say,
Okay.
check these off to make sure that at the end of the
Mm-hmm.
day, if you have a lot more positive, then
Yeah.
proceed to what you're trying to do.
Yeah, that's true because you know what? I think with everything, so I'll take you through a credit coaching consultation because this is
Okay.
applicable.
Yeah.
So, you come and, I think I do a lot more mindset stuff because a
Okay.
lot of times it's our mindset that dictates the outcome,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because
Mm-hmm.
if I don't get your mindset right, I'm not going to get you out of the funk that you're
You're
in,
in.
right?
Yeah.
So, with regards, I always ask because, whenever I do, I look at their credit score, I look at their credit files, both Equifax, TransUnion. I help people in the US, so I also look at Experian.
Okay.
So what I do is I create a chart of how much you owe and how much you pay.
Mm-hmm.
And then before I start saying you got to do this, you got to do that, we first look at, okay, what is coming in?
Yeah.
What is your expenses? And I don't do before taxes because ain't nobody ever sees that, okay? nobody,
What is that?
nobody ever sees that, right? And
Yep.
even when tax time comes, some people even have to pay on top
Yes.
of that, right?
Yep.
So I look at, okay, how much is coming in?
Yep.
How much is coming in, right? So we look at, okay, how much is coming in? Do all of that. How much is going out?
Yeah.
What are your
A lot.
expenses? What are your expenses? What are your expenses? We factor everything. And then after, in the end, whatever is there, I also make sure that in all of it, because budget, because even me, I'm learning each day, even how to stick to a budget, how to create a budget, how to
Mm-hmm.
revamp my budget to make sure I'm doing what I need to do. That's something that I'm learning as well, because
Mm-hmm.
I try to get my clients on a budget, because I always coach with the intention of, we need to get you into a home.
Okay.
Eventually, you're going to want to get a home. Eventually, you're going to want to leverage it for something. So how do we get
Yeah.
you there? But I also have to be mindful. We need to, everybody, this question is different from everybody because what's important to
Mm-hmm.
you might not
It's
be
different.
important to me, right?
Exactly.
Because
Yeah.
with me, I will say, if you have $20, I'd rather buy food than go spend it on a basketball team, because
Mm-hmm.
that is not a necessity. Food is a necessity,
Yeah.
right? And then also, if let's say you have to stretch it, right? Sometimes, okay, you have $20. There's food or there is the basketball.
Yeah.
If you see that, maybe basketball is important because you need that for your child's mental state, right? Then are you going to put your pride away and maybe look for help from food banks?
Mm-hmm. To
Look
get
for help
assistance.
from,
Yeah.
yes, get assistance, right? Even get assistance for Christmas. There's so many places where you can get assistance for Christmas that will help you,
Mm-hmm.
right? That will help you to get the things, because you know what? We're so fortunate in Canada that we are called the nice people, because we like to help. As much as, we bicker and we say we don't like this, when it comes to community, we all
I
wrap our
can help.
hands
Yeah.
together and help one another. So we
Yes.
need to be able to leverage it, because in COVID, there are people who have seen that they have more than other people. So people are willing to humble themselves and say, you know
Yep.
what, that family is in need, let me help them. But also, we also have to remember, we are blessed to be a blessing. So as much as you're getting, because a lot of times, a lot of people are squeezing $20 for so long because they
That's
are
all you can
stingy.
get. That's
They are
all they get.
stingy. No, but because some people are stingy.
Okay, I'm saying maybe that's all you get because there's no raise, there's no extra money, there's nothing else coming in. So 20 is all I have for the month.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I can do.
Yes, but that's the thing
to
though.
right.
Even out of that 20, because now you're in need. So when you come out of it, can
Mm-hmm.
you help somebody?
True.
Can you now be a blessing to somebody else?
True.
Because remember, that is how wealth is created. Wealth is
Giving it
created
back.
because we're not creating wealth to keep it all to ourselves. Wealth
Mm-hmm.
creation is in the giving. The blessing and the work is actually in the giving, and you got to challenge yourself, because right now COVID happened, and Salvation Army was something that I depended on. So
Mm-hmm.
now you've built yourself out of it. Now
Yep.
you are out of that hole, right?
Yeah.
Can you be the one that covers somebody else?
Yeah.
Right? So that's what when I talk about money is a tool, because it's a tool that we use. It's a tool that we need to understand that we are stewards of it.
Exactly.
Right?
So,
We're
question
stewards.
then. It's just taking it back into from a sports perspective, and
Mm-hmm.
right now, like we were talking about those who are still trying to do credit repairs,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
regardless of your income. You could make it. You could be making $100,000 a year and still have bad credit, and you could make
It's true.
$30,000 a year and still have bad credit. So I don't think credit knows
It doesn't
income
discriminate.
gap. It doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it doesn't discriminate, and which is great.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the whole idea of balancing, trying to protect our kids, making sure that they have that financial stability. Because
Mm-hmm.
when all they know is when oh, for instance, like, oh, well, mom posted something, I want to join. Oh, I want to join. And everything looks all fancy and nice because they want to do it. How do we scale back and
Mm-hmm.
let them know, say, hey, you know, this is great and all, but for right now, maybe it's in the budget, or we're going to do 2 weeks instead of 3 weeks. We're actually going to do 4 weeks because we save up towards it. How do you recommend that parents do that communication with the kids so that they're
Yeah.
involved to understand the stages of it? Because at the end of the day,
Yeah.
it's a family unit, right?
Mm-hmm.
In trying to get out of the debt
Yeah.
or trying to increase our credit line or whatever the case may be. What are
Yeah.
some of the things that you will guide that family
Mm-hmm.
in encouraging the kids to be part of the discussion?
I believe that is important to keep kids involved,
Okay.
because sometimes we underestimate what they know, because if they're never involved,
They
how do
won't
they
know.
know? Because this is the thing. Sometimes when you tell a kid will be like, oh, mom, I saw this camp, it's $40, I want to do it. You're like, right now, right now it's not in the budget. What do you mean I want to do it?
Yeah.
I want to
I just
do it.
can't.
What's the
It's still on
budget?
the
Like,
spreadsheet.
mom, I just want to do it. I just want to do it. But so that means that we need to involve them. And this is
Mm-hmm.
something that even me, I have to challenge myself to involve the kids in the finances so that they understand. So
Yeah.
that when there's a financial, not because it's all a matter of the age group and how much you're exposing to the kids, because you don't want to expose them to something that becomes a burden for them, because that's just too much
Yeah.
for children, right? But
Yeah.
even understanding, even when there's this girl that I met on Clubhouse, right? And she's part of the devotional moderators that I moderate with. And she was saying that growing up, she's very fortunate because her parents involved her in the finances. So
Wow.
even like when it came to going to the bank and depositing money, they will take her
Mm-hmm.
with them, right? So that she understood what that
How it
meant,
works. Yeah.
how money works. So even when she needed something, let's go to your bank account, let's take it out, so that
Yep.
they see what it means,
The ins
right?
and outs of it. Okay.
Yes, and
Okay.
understanding, okay, what is the bills? These are the bills in the house, and this is how much that goes into paying. Right.
Yeah.
So let's say, for example, with you, your boys are old enough to understand, especially your eldest one, right?
Yeah.
He can even
Yeah.
start even having Friday, financial checkups, right?
Yeah.
Where your son can be, maybe he's the one that's in charge of writing the budget.
Mm-hmm.
The other one can be in charge of maybe, doing the
Calculated
doing
it.
that calculating, right?
Yeah.
And doing all of that so that you guys know, and then you can explain to them,
Yep.
this is what we have and this is what we have to work with, right?
Yes.
So let's say there's extra money after all bills are paid, and this is money for leisure, then at least they know. So when they're
Mm-hmm.
coming and asking for $200 and they see that there's not enough allocated to that, then they're
Yeah.
able to scale back and say, you know what,
Not this
maybe
time.
we can't do that. Or even like your son, okay, maybe I want to go to all these sports, I want to do that. So you're 14, go shovel some stuff.
Yeah.
Start a
Definitely.
start a
Yep.
side hustle. You get what I mean? Because there's so
Yep.
many people. Like, this is time that even in the communities, there's so many elderly people who will appreciate
Mm-hmm.
somebody doing that for them, and they will pay you, right? Shovel
Yep.
snow, do some, some, they don't have to, but I'm saying, like, that's something that you can even do, that you guys can even do it together as a
Yep.
family. It's all about, as much as COVID has separated, we need to
Yep.
now bring our families back together. And I think
Yes.
if COVID taught us anything, it taught us the importance of family, the
Yes.
importance of relationships,
Yes.
the
And
importance of relationships
communication.
and communication, which
Yeah.
is very, 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 very important, right?
Yes.
Because
And
even I'm,
to add to the points, there's a comment that just says, great point. Involving the kids is important, definitely. Explaining to them that they should focus on their needs versus wants and how they can work hard to fulfill their wants. Key
yes,
points, exactly. Understand the difference
yes,
between I
mm-hmm.
want this versus I really need this. And
Yes,
also, in some young kids buying toys, probably parents can mentor them to buy stocks of those companies, which helps them to save and invest. Just educate the basic rules of financial planning. Yes,
yes,
stocks. Great point. I think
yes,
that is so
yes,
important. And of course, you as a parent have to understand it too. But like you said, the communication
mm-hmm.
aspect of it, we can
Yeah,
learn it together so
yeah,
that that following year, instead of just signing up for only one season, you can sign up for the full season plus a trainer because you've been able to save towards it and you work
mm-hmm.
towards it to understand that was the goal to be able to do that in that aspect of it. So
Yeah.
yeah, thank you for that point. That is so great.
Perfect.
Yeah, I
Perfect.
love
No,
it. I
that is
love it.
so true. That is so true, because you know what? Resilience. Our
Yes.
kids are very resilient. Like, my kids are so smart. Like, even the little ones, they know what's going on. They know
Yep.
what's going on,
They
right?
know
And we don't
before
give
we
them.
do.
And the thing too, like, he makes a really good point, because around Christmas,
Mm-hmm.
iPhone 13 comes out. Nowadays, iPhone is more than a mortgage payment.
Yes.
Like, it's more than a mortgage payment.
Yep.
PS4, PS5 came out.
5. 6 is
People,
probably in the works. Yep.
but
7,
that's the
8, 9,
thing.
10. Yep.
Because at the end of the day, the PS4 still operates,
Yes, it
right?
does.
Still operates, right? So even having, like he's saying, purchase a stock,
Yep.
purchase stock,
Yep.
purchase stock. Because at the end of the day, I am a big believer of generational wealth.
Yes.
And even to all the parents on this line, on here today, when it comes to real estate, what are you leaving? Because at the end of the day, we need to leave. Even the Bible says that we need to leave things for our children. We need to leave an inheritance for our children, right? But leaving an inheritance for your children doesn't mean that you're just going to do all the work and they're just going to inherit, because then they're not going to appreciate.
And don't leave inheritance that comes with the debt, so that they
Yes.
take on the debt.
Yes. So even
Yeah.
let's say with, building generational wealth through, and that's conversations that I have with every client that comes to me, right? Because the reason why is because my purpose and my mantle is for the next generation. So everything that I do is to drive that, right? So I always tell people, like, every client that I deal with, the question when we're done is not, bye or see you in a year. It's about what's next.
What's next?
What's next? The reason
Yeah.
why I'm asking what's next is, okay, how can we create a plan so that by the time each of your children are 18, they all have their own income property?
Yes. I like
right?
that.
Because
like that.
I will rather hand off my child an income property than hand off my child an iPhone.
True.
Right?
Because the dreams of actually getting into the pro is 0.900000009 or some percent. I forgot what the percentage
No, but
is.
it's not even because you gotta keep the mindset and all of that alive. But even if you're in the pros, and even this investment property, right? This investment property can pay even if you get it now, right?
Yeah. It can help
If you
you through
get
your
it now, it
education.
can help you through your education. I'm even about to cancel my education plan, and invest in real estate or invest in stuff because it'll get me a better return.
Yeah. Yeah, what's with that?
It will get me a better return, right? I'm sorry if
Yeah.
anybody's offended by that, but it will get you a better return, right?
Yeah.
It will
Yeah.
get you a better return because there's asset compounded interest, right? We need to start investing in things that is going to give us that generational wealth. Because
Wow.
I don't know about you, but I want my I want my things that are going to even grow while I'm not here. So even
Yeah.
if it means creating a business where I can scale it to a point where even if my kids are not in my business or working my business, because you know what, I don't believe in handing things over. I
Nope, they
believe in
can start their own.
our children. If my kids are going to inherit my business, I want them to work for it, not because you're my child. I don't mind hiring an outsider because they're responsible.
Yes. Yeah.
Right?
And sometimes it
So,
just keeps that unity, separate business and family
yes.
together. Yep.
And even teaching kids that, listen, my assets are mine. I worked hard for it. It's not yours. Because some
Yep.
kids are like, when I grow up, I'll just inherit this. No, it's mine.
No.
It has
No.
my name on it.
Yeah.
I have a choice whether I want to give you some or not.
Or not.
So work
Yeah.
for your own. Work for your own. You build for you and your future family. I'm going to sit here and build for my family. But it's not my responsibility to build for you. So if we teach them that, we're teaching them about stewardship.
And independence. I like that.
Independence and teaching them about how to get for them. Because things become easy, and that's why kids squander things. Because there's no hard work in it, because it was just handed off. So when it comes to financial literacy, I think the whole key with everything we've been talking about is involving them. Involving the kids. Involve
them at age appropriate conversation, which I think is so important, because $2 to a 3-year-old may seem so big versus $2 to a 13-year-old is
they'll probably throw it somewhere.
Yeah, literally. But just making sure that each one understand the importance of it. Like you said, don't the feel towards money, like feel good finance about it. Don't let the money lead you. Let you know that it's a vessel. And as I was saying earlier, especially from a sports perspective, it's crazy because you want to do things. You want them to, to get the exposure. You want them to do, it's all about the exposures and experience and getting to the levels and all these things come through, but it does come down to money. At the end of the day, it is money. No one's going to do a big thing on your child without that money, and be understanding that some of that money might not come back or some of them may come back. How it comes back is, I guess, up for discussion, depending on which club or league or training that you have with it. Now, another question I wanted to find out from you is, how we already talked a little bit about the financial education side of it, but how early do you, and I know you mentioned kids being resilient though, but how early should we start talking to kids about money, and what type of language should we be using? Especially the one that says, I want the iPhone 5, I want the Nike 4, 10, 20, I don't know what the numbers are these days now, right? And say, okay, you want this, but let's explain it in a certain way for you.
Yes. So I will start from the eldest and scale down to the youngest. So I'm a big believer. Okay. So when it comes to credit cards, right? When it comes to even your mortgages, even involving the kids in the mortgage aspect, showing them this is our mortgage, we don't rent, this is a mortgage, and explaining to them, because I believe that next year they're going to start teaching kids, like there's now financial literacy in the schools, and they're teaching kids how to pay a mortgage in high school and understanding about mortgages, right? So one thing I always say is, as a parent, if you want to teach your child how to manage a credit card, get your child a credit card at 16. I know when I say get your child a credit card at 16 is you can either add them as an authorized user on your card.
Okay.
Because as an authorized user, they can be an authorized user from the age of 13.
Okay.
Right? So you add them as an authorized user. What you can do is 16 is a good age, because that's when some of them starts working, some of them starts understanding these things, right?
Yeah.
So you start to teach them how to use a credit card from early so that when they get to 18, they have the tools that they need to fall
Mhm.
back on. So what you can do is, because it's your card, you can even apply for a credit card if you're able to. I don't usually recommend applying for credit cards unless your situation is good, because we don't want too many inquiries, right? We
Yeah.
don't want you to apply for something you're going to be declined for.
Yeah.
We ain't going to do that.
Yeah. Because
Okay?
each one does affect the credit ratings at the end. True.
Yes. Right.
Okay.
Depending on what you've been doing. So
Okay.
what I say is, you know what? At 16, get them, if let's say your card, you have a credit card with, let's say, a low limit on it. Put
Yeah.
them as an authorized user, right?
Okay.
And let's say when they want to buy something, they have to pay for it, but at
Mhm.
least show them how credit card works. When
Works.
the bill comes, give them the bill.
Mm-hmm.
Don't do no e-statement. Let the bill come to the
Physical.
house. Show
Okay.
them. Because if you want that Nike thing and you're going to swipe your card of $500 for that Nike thing, you
Mm-hmm.
better make sure that as soon as you get home, you are
You can pay
paying
it.
that $200,
Yep.
right? Show them, because it has their name on it, because it will come with their name on it. So
Yep.
that's that responsibility. Let
Okay.
them use the card. But
Okay.
teach them that if you use this card, you are going to be responsible for paying the card. If you use $2 and spend for that candy or for
Mm-hmm.
that drink that you don't need,
Yep.
then you're going to have to pay for it, because when the bill comes, you're
It's
going
in
to
your
give it
name.
to them.
Yes. I like
You're
that.
going to give them the
So
bill.
forget about not so much about the environmental safety part of it, which is great, but having that physical, tangible something to hold on to. So it's a constant reminder to see it. And I think right now, even when you get your credit statement, it does tell you how long in terms of years it would take you to pay off based on the interest rate that you have. So that's a good point. Add them
Yes.
in as a secondary
Yeah.
holder,
Mm-hmm.
put their name on it, and make sure that when the statement comes, it's physical statement.
Yeah, because
Give
they
it to them
use
and
it.
then walk them through
Yes.
on
So
paying it off.
because I always recommend to give them a card, like a secondary card that you have, that you can maybe reduce the limit where
Okay.
it's only them using it. Because the
Okay.
statement will come and it will show your name and their name. And
Okay.
because they went there and used, and also have them keep the receipt so that we can cross-reference and say, you spent that, this is what it is. Okay.
Yep.
So we are going to go to the bank. Physical. We're going to do physically go
Physical.
to the bank
There are
and
still
pay it.
tellers. Yes.
Yes, you're going to go to the bank and you're going to pay this credit card bill,
Mm-hmm.
right? You're showing them that when you think you have to pay, and we're going to pay this with your
Yep.
allowance,
Yep.
responsibility, your
Yep.
allowance, because kids don't like spending their own money.
Nope.
They love
I
our
know
money.
this. Yep, that was us. You get there to
They
the
love our
register
money.
and they're like, "Ooh, I
They're
forgot my
looking
wallet."
at
You're
you.
like,
Yeah.
"Yeah."
Right? So especially if you're going to give them that task, make
Mm-hmm.
sure that you're letting them take money out of their bank account or
Okay.
their drawer or their piggy bank to
Yeah.
go and pay that card, so that they can understand that this is the responsibility of a credit card. It's not free money.
Nope.
It's money that's
It's
borrowed money,
temporary. It's
and borrowed
borrowed.
money must be paid back. And then teach them there's 5, categories of credit score calculation, because if you don't are not mindful of that, you can also have them spend so much that will affect your credit. So
Mm-hmm.
making sure that if he has 500, you're only spending less than 30% of your limit, right?
Okay.
So you can't go over. If you have 500, you can't go over what, $60? My math is probably off, but you can't go over a certain amount.
Okay.
150, I think so. Yes. So you can't go over a certain amount, because if you go over that amount, you can potentially bring your credit score down.
Down.
Right?
Okay.
So your limit is not 500, it's 150.
Yeah.
Mental picture. Have that mental picture. And a lot of us, if we had our mental picture of our credit limit, not what they've given us, but what
We're going
the
to be paying
30%
back.
is, yes, right?
Okay.
Then we will be spending that. So if you do it like that, they are going and they're paying themselves. You're teaching them stewardship, right?
Yes.
That
Yes.
you do this because is it a want or a need?
Yep.
Start
There's a
teaching your
difference.
kids about wants or need. What are needs? What are wants?
That's
What's
it.
important? Is this important to you? Is this going to, are you going to die if you don't get these, Kobe shoes or Jordans?
Yeah.
You're not.
Yeah.
And
And
a
like I
lot,
said earlier, like just uh, understanding the difference from $2 to $20. The value for each age is different, but you work just as hard because minimum wage is minimum wage. Minimum, and $1 an hour is $1 an hour. But buying that candy for $2, you have to work more hours to get that return. So I guess just breaking it down to that
yeah.
basics of it, because I don't want to think of the mindset like a broke mindset.
Nope.
Eventually, we want them to say, "Yeah, I work hard for my money. I want to spend it, but I also want to save, and I want to be able." It's
Yeah.
you have to spend and you have to save, right? So how do
You
you
do.
break that gap in between? Because you don't want to. Most often we always say, "No, save your money, save your money." And like I asked that before, you always say, save your money," but I want to buy that, and it's like, yeah, you're right. You do have to spend a bit, but you also have to save it. So how do you help or suggest for parents to be able to do that the same way? And I'm always thinking of it because I'm always talking about with sports parents, like we want to save so that you can get into this higher school to go to. Going to university is not cheap. Going to college is not cheap. Buying uniforms is not cheap. Buying uniform for sports is not cheap. Like
Yeah.
everything comes with money. But at the end of the day, we still want them to understand the concept of it and not
Hmm.
deprive them of what it is that they
Yeah.
like to do or what's keeping them.
Hmm.
So how do you walk through what would be some of your suggestions to understand the difference? Like I know you originally
Yeah.
mentioned the mindset, but what are other tips that we can think of so that we're
I
not
think,
raising broke
yeah.
athletes?
You
As I
know,
always say.
a lot of my ministry will come out of this, and my favorite scripture in the Bible is Matthew 6, there where it talks about do not worry about tomorrow, for
624. Yeah.
tomorrow will worry
Worry
about
itself.
itself.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. A lot of us are so caught up in saving for the future that we forget to live in the now. We forget to enjoy our families now because that money is saved. But if that money saved is depriving you from having that connection with your family and enjoying life, because remember,
Mm-hmm.
you only, you will die today and you'll have all this money, and who's going to inherit it, right?
The
People are
other
going to probably,
people who is going to enjoy. Think
yeah.
of all these celebrities that went away and people are enjoying
Not even that.
their
Look at all of our
fortune.
parents,
Yep.
all of our, let's bring it back to our African community, right? All of our
Yep.
parents who went and built homes back home for their family members to live there, and they don't even have homes here,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Because they're thinking so much ahead that we forget to build for the
In
now.
the
We
moment.
forget
Yeah.
to live. It's good to save, it's good to invest, right? But you still have to live. Live
Yes.
in the now, live in
I
the
love
moment.
that.
Don't
I
be
love that.
irresponsible in the moment. Don't be irresponsible and just go and just start, popping champagne and just raining and all of that. You got to be responsible
Yes.
because you are a steward.
Yes.
You are a
Yes.
steward of everything that you have. You're a
Yeah.
steward of the money. So God has to be able to trust you with what he's given you,
I
right?
love that. I
So
love that.
we have to be trusted. So we have to make sure we're enjoying, live in the now. Tomorrow will worry about itself. Enjoy life now. And that's why I think that millennials, we were so uptight. That's why we made irrational decisions. Because our parents are,
Yes.
oh, save,
It was
save. We made
stiff.
irrational
Stiff, stiff,
we
stiff.
made irrational decisions because the knowledge that was passed down to us we didn't understand. So even like with me, don't get a credit card, it's bad for your health,
Yeah.
right? Don't have a boyfriend, it's bad for your health. So what did we do? We wanted, like, once we got older, you're like, I'm
You
free
want
from
it.
you, I'm
Yep.
gonna have a boyfriend, I'm
Yeah.
gonna get a credit card, I'm 18 now. You can't do nothing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna live my life, and all of us live
Yeah.
their life, and now we're in debt,
Yeah. Yep. It's
right?
hard to recruit, but that's where you come in to help understand the difference. Like you said, even if we've gone towards one way, there's always a way out to get back to where you were. And that's always in life. Literally, like with the whole COVID, that all of us getting locked down, getting time to reflect and be with family, we never thought, well, I wasn't sure when we would come out of it, but now that we're back to the groove, it's hard to even think back that we went through it. So to everything, there's a season and there's a
Yep.
turn to it and all, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
now with that being said, because I'm so appreciative with all the knowledge that you have shared, honestly, like
Mm-hmm.
the tips and all the people that
Yeah.
were sharing, financial literacy, especially when you're in the sports world, it is so important.
Yeah.
Everything from registration to travel, everything comes to money.
It's a lot of
So
money.
it
It's a
is.
lot.
It's not just paying 200 or 400 or 1200 just to be in a team. Everything else in between adds up. We're
Mm-hmm.
talking about spectator fees, which I still don't understand, but that's another topic with it. So
Yeah.
for anyone that says, I really appreciate what Portia said. My kids are still active in sports. It's something that we do every year. I put something aside for them. This Christmas, I'm going to do something for them. But next year, I want to make better decisions. I want to make sure that I'm always in a surplus. I'm always enjoying life, not being worried about money. How can people reach out to you? How can they connect with you to take those steps so that they can
Mm-hmm.
continue for us to all still live and continue to do what we love to do,
Yeah.
especially with the kids?
Mm-hmm. So you know what? I love this question, and I think a lot of times, you know, bad credit, bad debt is not the end of the world.
Okay.
If you can get into bad debt, you can come out of it,
Mm-hmm.
because there's always a polar opposite to everything in life. If you
Mm-hmm.
can go down in the rabbit hole, you can come out.
Yes.
Right? But it's all about this, your
The
mind, your
mind.
mindset. Everything begins and start with your mindset. So even I would even caution families and parents, don't wait for next year, start now.
Okay.
Because a lot of us have been saying, well, wait, well, wait, well, wait. Even sometimes I'm like, I'm gonna juice next week. And then I never do it
No.
because the start now, live in now.
Yeah.
Start now, do something now, a
Yeah.
small step, because you know what, remember, we don't need to build a house at once. We need
Mm-hmm.
to remember there's a process to building a house. You lay
Yeah.
a brick by brick by
Break.
brick by brick by brick. Every brick is a win. Start
Yes.
writing down your wins. Everything is a win, right? And
Yeah.
then the more you do it, you will start to say, what, you will wake up one day, you're like, oh my God, I did it. And you
I
didn't
did it.
even realize that you did it, because
Yeah.
remember, a lot of us are chasing perfection, not excellence.
Yeah.
Right? We're
True.
chasing perfection, not excellence. So if you
Yeah.
want to do something, do it now. Do it now, because I know a lot of us, I got into this industry to help. I believe that as we gain success, we must make
Mm-hmm.
sure that we use our experiences to come back to lift up our communities.
I like
Community
that.
building is how we build communities. You gain
Yep.
success, you gain skills, you
Top.
gain
Yeah.
knowledge, but you don't
Yep.
forget. A lot of us forget and just run away, but you have to come back and now lift your community. And I'm not saying come and
Yeah.
lift up everybody. It only takes one person to say, you know what, I'm gonna do what you're doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
We come and we lift up our community. So what I'm doing is, I am, for the
So
next
where
2 weeks.
where can they find you though? Because I know
Okay.
you do, like you said, you support people in US, you do here in Canada as
Yeah.
well too. And I will tag your name and everything, but if somebody's looking for that financial support and they're
Mm-hmm.
concerned about trying to, join a team, not join a team, buy a home, not
Yeah.
buy a home,
Mm-hmm.
buy a present, not buy a present, and they're
Yeah.
like, my mindset is all over the place. I need
Yeah.
someone to walk me
Mm-hmm.
through. Where
So
where
you
you
can,
where are you?
you can hit me up at Portia Does Mortgages. I
Mm-hmm.
have my schedule link in there. You can book a call with me. I will
Okay.
put my phone number here. It's okay. You can call me,
Okay.
right? Who cares who's gonna creep you? Call me, okay? Call
Yeah.
me. Let's get you together. Let's look at, because a lot of us, we don't know because
Yeah.
we've never looked at it. So let me partner up with you. Let me team up with you. Let me be an accountability partner where we help each other to lift each other up. So book a call with me. So what I'm doing is I'm doing a financial checkup for the
Okay.
next 2 weeks. I have opened up my calendar. Guys, take advantage of this. I have opened up my calendar to help as many people that I can help become homeowners, help fix their credit. Book a call with me, and I'm telling you, it's a breakthrough call. You will leave more, because I believe that we must leave people with more value that we gain. Right? So
Exactly.
you will leave with so much value, and this is free at no charge. Financial checkup. right? Because I did this from one of my clients. She thought she would never be able to buy a home because her credit was bad and because somebody told them they will never be. I took that challenge. She told me no. I told him, tell me no, and I'll tell you yes. And in
That's
6 weeks, they were able to close on a mortgage.
that's amazing.
Right?
Wow.
So if you
Great,
want that,
great,
a
great.
breakthrough, it's a breakthrough call. Take it. Call me. Let's book an appointment. Let's get you on a path where you can now achieve the goals that you want. I know home ownership is on a lot of people's
Mine. Yep.
list, right? So let's work together. Even if it can take 1 month, 2 months, 6 months, a year, but at least you will leave this call with a plan of action, a plan of action. And I'm going to be checking up on you because I'm your cheerleader. I'm your coach. So I'll be calling you. I'll be checking up on you to make sure we're putting all these things into place.
Check. And
Because
especially for the sports family, that way you
yes,
don't have to decide, do I sign for 2 weeks or do I sign for
yes,
1 week? Because you already have that financial guidance as to how to
yes,
make that decision to still keep their kids active, which is my
yes,
always my goal. Keep them active.
yes.
Yeah.
And ask your kids if they want to do it.
Yeah.
Don't just
Yes.
put them in something.
Don't just
Ask
sign
them.
up in
Don't
soccer or
just sign up
basketball or
because
anything.
you're gonna spend 300. Because I remember basketball camp for a week used to be at 150, but now I'm seeing it's been doubled. But
Yeah.
neither here or there. But
150 was BC, which I call before COVID. It's a BC has a whole different meaning now. So that we don't talk about BCs. We were all in post COVID because there's
yes,
COVID price for everything now.
yes. So
Um,
at least
so
you'll know exactly where you're at, what your budget is, right?
yeah,
What a budget is. Even if you hit me up, right? You hit me up. I have a worksheet, a budget worksheet. You can use that to really check to see, can I do this? Don't be
yeah,
stressed.
yeah.
Don't
You
be
can do this.
stressed. Don't
You
be
can do
stressed.
this.
There's no
I
point in
love
being
that.
stressed. Life is not about stress.
No, don't be. And to end on that note, because I want to end it off with a really good, another positive note. Because again, the more we put energy into something that we do, the positive energy comes back. But if we think too much negative, like I'm never gonna make money, I'm never gonna do this, I'm never gonna do that. No, of course you become who you are,
Yeah.
based on what you think. So my last question to you is, and you've mentioned a couple of things in terms of what inspires you, what you like being a mom and everything. What is that one life motto or saying that keeps you going? It doesn't have to be even about your business, just anything personal, just to end it off on a really good, positive way for all of us.
Like I've always, for as long as I can think of, the motto of my life is be the change in the world that you want to see.
I like that.
Right? So
Okay.
we always have to ask of ourselves, right? How are we being the change in the world that we want to see? Because a lot of us have been blessed with so many things. Even every day that you're alive, you have to be thankful.
It's a blessing.
Right? It's a blessing. So we have to be the change. Sit back. Get to know who you are. Get to know what your purpose is and how you can use the gifts that you've been given to now lift up the world. Be the change. Because remember, like I said before, our job as the adults is to hand off, a
what we can
peaceful
for the
world
kids.
for the next generation. So what are
Exactly.
we handing? We need to really start to really think and dive into that. Because one thing that I remember, I was sitting there, I think it was about when I had my son or when I had my daughter, like 12 years ago. And I was like, the way this world is going, am I comfortable passing this over to my children? Like, am I comfortable? Right? Because we are always waiting for somebody
to lift us up,
do something.
Yeah.
But then it's you. You don't need to wait anybody. You can start.
You can
starts
do
with
it.
somebody. So if I can start and help somebody, lift somebody up. And also when I talk about my business, when I talk about, helping the next generation, I am really focused because a part of the next generation is the parents and the environment that they're living in. Because I feel like a lot of, organizations, a lot of things, we heal the kids and then put them back in the environment. We need to start healing the family.
Yeah.
right?
It's a
So
family
if I
unit.
can help, I occupy spaces where I can bring value to the parents so that they can lift themselves out of the stress and the overwhelm, right? So
Yeah.
mortgages, I can help. I learned about mortgages. Now I can go and help you so that you can learn how to become a homeowner. You can learn how to fix your credit. You can learn how to manage your money so that you have stress-free, so that your
Yeah.
children don't
And
have to
stress
be,
free.
because a lot of times when you're stressed, who do you take it out on?
We take it on the kids. Yeah.
I do it
So
too. Sometimes I
it,
walk in yelling at them, right?
yeah. So that's a good point, because when you have that clear mindset and you're passing it on to them, they're also in a clear mindset. And again, just to recap what you say, involve them in the conversation, involve them in the financial aspect of it. Let them understand how money flows in and out. And it's not every particular game or event or camp that you have to sign them up for. If you can't, that's
Yeah,
okay.
measure.
It's
Measure.
okay. Measure. It's not everything. It's great, but at the end of the day, leave the world better than how we came in. Correct? Which I thank you
Yes.
so
Yes.
much.
Yes.
And for
Yes.
everyone that joined a little bit later, so this is Portia Borton. She is a mortgage agent. She's a credit counselor that supports families in understanding their finances, and especially if you're trying to get home ownership. But the theme of it was also with the sports aspect of it, so that you're not divided. Do I buy a home, or do I send my kid to a camp? Do I send them to a team or anything like that? So just understanding that it's an ecosystem between every decision that we make, so that they understand that even though they're doing the sports that they love, there is also underlying decision that comes in and be able to
Mm-hmm.
financially support them.
Yeah.
And with that being said, I want to say thank you so
No
much for sharing.
problem.
It's been
Yes.
a great conversation. I've learned a
Yes.
lot,
We
especially
should
about
do this
the credit
again. We should
part.
do this
Yeah,
again, right?
for
Because
sure.
life is a sum. The thing is, just one closing thought. I want everybody to really think about this, right? Life is a sum of decisions.
Some of decisions.
It's a
Yeah.
sum of decisions. Even
That's
us being here is a
mathematical
decision.
and very mental.
Yeah, see,
Yeah.
it's a decision. Us being here is a decision for you to say, you know what, let's do this, and me saying yes.
Yeah.
So let's look at our decisions. Let's weigh the decisions that we're making, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's be conscious about the decisions that we're making, because those decisions can either pivot you forward or pivot you backwards. So
Backwards.
everything in our lives is all a sum of decisions that we have made. So if we can make bad decisions, we can
Yeah.
also make good decisions.
Exactly. I love that. And with that
Mm-hmm.
note, thank you to everybody. I will definitely post this. I will share. I will provide all of her information. You can reach out to her. She will definitely work with you if you're in that particular need of trying to understand your finances, so that, again, we do not want to raise broke athletes at all. That's my goal. We want them to be financially savvy and understanding to continue and learn from what we have learned from,
Yeah.
or not repeat what we did not repeat. So
Mm-hmm.
thank you, everybody. Have
Yes.
yourself a very good evening. Till next time. Thanks, Portia. We'll talk.
Bye, everyone. Thank you for
Bye.
coming. Take care.